We're trying to add utility to NFTs in a way that we don't think, at least we haven't seen before. But first and foremost, we ourselves are an NFT community. And I think kind of, for ourselves, really, it's like we really want to be, in some ways, sort of the staker of last resort because and then, we're going to get into this a little bit later when we talk about the mechanics, but 100% of the Ethereum that is raised during our mint events, which we're calling the offering, 100% of that Ethereum is actually going to be staked with Lido. And then the staking rewards are actually going to be distributed fully to all of our NFT owners.
Welcome to Mission DeFi with Brad Nickel, where we explore projects in decentralized finance that are innovating and driving our mission of financial freedom forward. Thank you for listening. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, rate, and review Mission DeFi and spread the word by posting a tweet to the show. All opinions expressed by Brad Nickel or his guests are their opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Black Knox, Material Indicators, or any other affiliated organizations. You should not treat any opinion expressed by Brad Nickel or his guests as an inducement to make a particular investment, follow a particular strategy, or become involved with any project. A project being featured on the show is not an endorsement of that project in any way. This podcast is for informational purposes only. Now, here's Mission DeFi with Brad Nickel.
I'm excited today to have Neptune from a really innovative hybrid NFT DeFi project called the Idols. And I am excited about not only that the art for the NFTs in this project is really cool, but also excited because it offers a lot of utility and functionality that rewards holders and helps secure the Ethereum network and just all around seems to have a really great model. So Neptune, thank you so much for joining us. And if you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background, how you ended up in crypto, and then we can get into how the project was formed and why it was formed and how it works.
Yeah, no, Brad, thanks so much. And I'm very happy to be on the show for sure. A little bit about my background. Yeah. So I studied computer science in undergrad, always been interested in finance and tech and kind of the intersection between them, so after graduation, I actually spent a couple of years working in more traditional finance.
Nice.
Kind of like, yeah, I've done everything in terms of like worked at an investment bank and then in private equity and such. I would say I really got into crypto though around 2017.
Right.
So yep, it was really like that was kind of around the time I bought my first Ethereum, right before the first bull run. And then, me, like everybody else, I was like super bright eyed, just like really loved everything that was going on. I think that was one of the first people to kind of like actually open a MakerDAO vault.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
yeah, yeah, no, that's right. Those were definitely fun times. It was just crazy how I felt like, wow, you could literally take 2 seconds and then like take out a loan on chain. Never seen anything like it before. And
It's it's the first time you encounter that, it's just the most amazing concept. It's like, wait, I don't have to like fill out 400 forms and talk to people and do anything. I just do this. It's incredible.
Yep. Yeah. No, it really is an incredible experience. At the same time, I was probably one of the first people to get liquidated on the on the MakerDAO platform as well. But definitely have learned a lot since then, gotten more deep into the space. I kind of like I would say really kind of I say re-entered the space probably around early 2020 when like a lot of right before kind of DeFi summer. Yeah. And then, and like kind of since then, I've actually spent a little bit of time working at a DeFi fund. I was there managing my own fund, focused on various DeFi investments, yield farming, things like that. And then but I've always been super interested in NFTs, obviously always been a big DeFi fan. And then we really wanted to kind of try to marry these two ideas in a unique, and I think kind of one of the interesting things about the idols is that like, it's an NFT and DeFi project, but at the same time, like we really think of ourselves as like the guardians of Ethereum because
Nice.
Yeah, like what you're doing ultimately by participating, with the idols is that you're contributing to the overall security of Ethereum by locking in more staked ETH.
That's awesome. So can you kind of explain for people that may not necessarily be as familiar with how the new proof of stake model works and how you partnered to do that, how that would function for you guys?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, as most people know, Ethereum today is still a proof of work blockchain. So, very similar to kind of how Bitcoin operates its own consensus. But in the next 2 quarters, hopefully, when the Q2 and Q2, when the merge is scheduled, Ethereum should become a fully proof of stake blockchain. And what that means is that, like, instead of having kind of computations and computing power be securing the network, what you're really using is the underlying token. Now, operating a staking node, if you want to participate in staking directly, it can be a little bit of an involved process because you have to maintain your own hardware. You have to be running the Ethereum node software on your own. You have to consistently be updating your software. You have to make sure that your own system has close to 100% uptime. You can't have any blackouts. If your internet goes down, all of that is bad for staking your own.
Right. It's complex, it's difficult, it's technical. And so somebody saw that there was an opportunity to make it easier and not require quite as much Ethereum to get started.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, one of the requirements is 32 Ethereum for running your own node. Um, so, where the idols is actually partnered with Lido. And then, a little Easter egg for you guys, IDOL is actually, an anagram for Lido, which is partially where our name comes from. Yeah. So, Lido is actually, they built an amazing project. They are far and away the most widely used liquid staking solution in the market. So what happens when you're working with Lido is that if you deposit your Ethereum with Lido, Lido essentially is taking that and then delegating that to their network of proof of stake operators.
Awesome.
So they have a very intense process in terms of onboarding operators. All the operators within the Lido network are top of the line. And then really it's like you're letting Lido delegate and kind of do the hard work of the staking, and then you're just earning the passed through rewards in the form of staked Ethereum.
Right. And so that normally earns, what is it, like 4 to 5% if you're just staking it at Lido? That's how that functions.
Yeah, that's right. It's between 4 to 5% right now. The staking APR itself is really dependent on just how many people are staking.
Right.
I
But
think the number is around 4 to 5%.
yeah, but I think the real calculation here is for people that look at the history of Ethereum and understand that there are always dips and there are always runs back up, that if you believe in what Ethereum will do and the future value of it, you're essentially gaining more than you would have and having a great way of also helping the overall network be more secure and ready for Ethereum 2.0.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. So it's a longer term play. It's a way to hodl with extra earnings, but then you guys are building something kind of around that model. So how does the idols work with that? What's the idea behind it? How did you come up with it, right?
Yeah.
What was the origin story of creating this thing?
Yeah, yeah. Like the origin story is really like it stems from, it was definitely an evolution. Like me, several of the team members from the idols, all of us are huge NFT fans. We've been kind of buying and collecting NFTs for some time. There were a few things that, and one of the most popular NFT projects out there, or a type of NFT project, is really the PFP, like the profile picture. Yeah. So like, obviously like CryptoPunks, Bored Apes, everybody knows those. But there's actually a lot of PFP projects out there. And then I think kind of what we were seeing was that we didn't like some of the things that were happening in the space just with respect to alignment between the community and the founding team members of some of those projects.
And what problems did you see with how they were doing this? Well, you know what? First of all, PFPs are essentially randomly generated characters that have kind of a base design where there are multiple configurations that can be placed on them. And people kind of use those as their identity on things like Twitter, et cetera. But also they collect them because they love the way they look and they think they're unique and interesting. Would that be a fair definition of PFP?
Yeah, no, I think so.
Cool.
Obviously it's like, yeah, you're getting a lot of them, you're getting some pretty cool artwork, but I also think a lot of these kind of projects they're very community oriented.
Right.
First and foremost, like NFT projects are all about community. And then it's really just like, it's kind of a way to gather people around who have a similar interest, like all across the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've seen incredible communities created around this, right? Where where the founders are focused on additional monetary value, but also it becomes a really strong networking group of folks and people who are supporting each other, but also probably, I would assume that there's been a lot of other projects and business generated out of those relationships. So if you do a community, you can actually turn it into something far greater than even the investment value.
Yeah, no. And we believe in that too. And, the idols, like, I think we're doing a bunch of new things in the space. We're trying to add utility to NFTs in a way that we don't think, at least we haven't seen before. But first and foremost, we ourselves are an NFT community. And I think kind of, for ourselves, really, it's like, we really want to be, in some ways, sort of the staker of last resort, because like, and then, we're going to get into this a little bit later when we talk about the mechanics, but 100% of the Ethereum that is raised during our mint events, which we're calling the offering, 100% of that Ethereum is actually going to be staked with Lido. And then the staking rewards are actually going to be distributed fully to all of our NFT owners.
And that's awesome because the problem that you guys are addressing is that there have been a lot of PFP projects that were really just money grabs.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of like, so if you think about it more, the more traditional way that NFT projects have kind of structured themselves, basically the founders will sell a bunch of NFTs during a mint event. So they'll raise a bunch of Ethereum. And then additionally, they are keeping some percentage of secondary sales, which is the secondary sales commission charged on all the trades. And then those sales are typically going back to the founders as well.
Right. So they're essentially double dipping on the total value of what's created by buying and selling the NFTs. People buy them and then they will resell them on OpenSea or another NFT platform, and they get the percentage commission that comes from the secondary sales of that NFT on an ongoing basis, right? So, and they, in a lot of cases, take that money, but they've not provided real community and real value back to the people that bought it, right? So there's without that, without a reason for people to hold and be a part of it, you're just kind of creating a downward motion and no real value to people that wanted to participate.
Yeah. So, I think firstly, like, I would say it's like, it's not that we at the idols hate this model. Like, we've seen tons of communities, successful, really vibrant communities kind of build off of models like this. Yeah. But I would say that kind of, there is a sort of I don't want to call it a misalignment, but there's a difference in exposure and a difference in incentives between the community and the founding team.
Right.
Because yeah, the founding team is really kind of the ones earning all of the ETH and all of the revenue within the project, while community members are the ones holding these NFTs, which, are they should increase in value as the community grows. But there is still this difference in just exposure.
Sure. Absolutely. And look, I mean, I don't think anybody faults anyone wanting to make money from their project. And ultimately, you're not doing this as a charity,
Yeah.
but you're trying to do it in a model that actually provides incentives. And we'll talk about that later for you all to succeed in building a great community and providing value to people who are investing in the project.
Yeah, I would really say first and foremost, kind of like when in terms of our motivations behind building the idols, in terms of all of our motivations behind the design decisions that we chose, everything was chosen with the idea of how can we fully align the community and the founding team.
Nice. Very nice.
Mhm.
And I think that's like, I think it's admirable because, and I don't mean that as admiral as a throwaway term. I mean, actually admirable. I think it's admirable because I think we're at that kind of inflection point for all of DeFi crypto NFTs in that people are realizing they have to be smarter about where they invest their money and time, and that project lead really need to think about models that are mutually beneficial to everyone. And so it's really cool to see something like this kind of coming about. So, okay, so let's walk through, if you don't mind, kind of what is the what is the structure that is kind of the initial NFT holding an NFT? What is the primary thing that actually happens if I buy an idol? And what do I get from that financially? And then how does the entire model work from there? Because there are multiple components to what you guys have created.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So like, and then we have our website here, and then I think kind of our how it works infographic is like a pretty good overall explanation.
There we
Um,
go.
Yeah. So like, so as you mentioned before, we're having our Mint event, which is called the offering. Hopefully, it's scheduled for February 2020 or 2022. And then, like I mentioned, 100% of the Ethereum raised from the sale is actually going to be deposited back into Lido. And then the Lido STEs that we get from that will actually be locked away permanently in the idle treasury. So the idle treasury, by the way, is like, it's unlike other treasuries in that it's fully managed by smart contracts. There's no multi-sig involved. Nobody, including the founders, can ever actually withdraw the STEs that is locked away in the treasury.
So I would call this fairly radically decentralized. This is similar to Liquidity, who has essentially released their smart contracts to the world, and these cannot be altered, right? This system works this way, it will work this way, and there's nothing you guys can do to alter the way the funds flow in this system.
That's exactly right. Yeah. All of the flow of funds in terms of just how the ETH is managed, how the rewards are paid, all of that is 100% governed by smart contracts. The smart contracts are non-upgradable. And, one of the cool things about our project is that it's, in a lot of ways, it's like, it's fully self-sustaining on day one. So, it doesn't require any centralized input from any entities in order to continue. Once the contracts have been deployed, it's up to the community on where they want to take it.
That's awesome. I think the more we see of that, the better. It's very interesting because Andre Cronje wrote a Medium post yesterday, and it was around kind of the whole Wonderland debacle and everything that's going on with that. But his point was that humans in the mix of Wonderland have made mistakes that has caused harm to the investors in the project and the project overall. And he writes all of his contracts to be decentralized, to be something he can't touch after the fact. And the value in that is that it removes a lot of the human calculation, corruption, and mistakes that can be made. And I think he was really trying to separate himself from his partnership with Daniel on the Solidly project in saying that whether or not you like Daniel, there's nothing Daniel can do to mess this up. And I think that's really important for people to understand that ultimately, the concept behind decentralized finance is not just the models can be that there are a lot of people voting to make decisions, but there is actually a model that takes it further. And that is something that's deployed and cannot be changed or altered or edited for the benefit of the people who deploy it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in some ways, we're trying to be one of the few people that are bringing DeFi back to its roots, like fully decentralized contracts with very, very little centralized control.
Very nice. Love it. Absolutely love it. Okay. So part one is buy an NFT, and the money that you spent for the NFT, 100% of it is staked with Lido, and the earnings from that are returned back to the holders of the NFT. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right. So, like by participating in, you're going to end up getting an idle NFT. And then the idle NFT, so there's going to be 10,000 total idle NFTs. They're going to have differing rarities in terms of just the different artwork, and certain traits are going to be more rare than others. But that said, all 10,000 idle NFTs actually have an equal claim to the idle treasury.
Nice. Do you have an idea of, for the launch, is this going to be a set price model, an auction model?
Yeah.
How is that going to be handled?
We're still, we're still doing some research on our own, but I'll let you know, it will involve somewhat of an auction mechanism, but we're going to release a lot more details on just how exactly the offering is going to work. There's going to be our own little twist to it as well.
No, very well, of course there should be, because that's what you guys are good at, right?
Yeah. So,
I love it. You know, the interesting thing is, I think there's and I don't mean that you do this intentionally. I think there's also a psychology to something this unique that people just will want to be a part of it because it's so cool that you guys are doing multiple unique ways for people to be a part of this. So, and enjoy it. So I think that's also a cool thing. That's great. Okay. So that's part one. Now, was this an idea, before we get into the other pieces? Was this an idea that you really kind of had your entire, what you call the virtuous circle, in mind from the beginning, or has it really evolved over time? I don't mean the specific
yeah.
details, but I mean, you really saw, like, from the beginning, oh, this can be a multi-part thing that has multiple value chains. Was that how it came to you, or was it something that kind of was added to over time?
Yeah, like in terms of the genesis of the idea, it actually, to be honest, like my first iteration of this type of idea actually involves more gambling aspects in that, like, yeah, like it was going to be like, there was the idea behind the immutable treasury that was generating yield was always there. Like the original idea genesis of the idea involved having the NFTs actually like participate in some sort of contest, and then the winner would actually be the one to get like all the earnings. And then we also had an ERC20 token and kind of this original idea that would like they would essentially be adding to the pot, but by adding to the pot, they would be getting some percentage of the earnings. That was like the genesis of the idea, but I think it kind of evolved into this virtuous cycle, which we think is much more robust.
Nice, very nice. Okay,
Mhm.
so let's go into the other parts of the virtuous circle. Can you
Yeah,
can you take us through that? So
no,
we've staked you've staked the funds that we put in to buy the NFTs, and then we're all happily earning Ethereum because we have our piece of the pie. And then what happens? What else is there in the circle?
yeah. So, yep, the NFT owners they have a perpetual claim on the idle treasury and they're earning its ETH rewards from the. Additionally, the project involves an ERC20 token, and that's our virtue token,
Okay.
which the way that the virtue token works, and then, at launch, the main utility behind the virtue token is that if you stake the virtue token, you'll be receiving your proportional share of the 7.5% commission charged on idle NFT sales.
Aha. So however many tokens you have out of the total number of tokens, the 7.5% commission on resale of these idle NFTs will go to everyone that holds virtue based on how much of the virtue they hold.
Yep. No, that's exactly right. So, like going back to earlier when we were talking about how a lot of NFT projects structure themselves, we didn't want to structure this project in a way where funds were directly accruing to the founding team. We wanted the funds to be shared 100% with our community, and then just to further align ourselves with the community.
Very nice. I love it.
Yep. So,
So will virtue be launching simultaneously with the NFTs, or is that something that's coming later? How is the timing on that?
yes. You can think of everything as basically simultaneously. The offering is going to happen. So, like, while the offering itself is happening, Virtue Token won't be live, but it will be live right after.
Okay, awesome. All right, cool. And then there's yet another component of this model, and what is that?
Yeah. Ultimately, it's really the bonding curve. And the bonding curve is what really ties the pieces and ties the different players together. So Virtue tokens, obviously, if you stake them, you receive your proportional share, 7.5% commission. In order to acquire the Virtue token, you actually, all of Virtue token in circulation must originally come from the bond. So, at launch, there will be zero token Virtue token in circulation. As people bond staked Ethereum into the idle treasury, that staked Ethereum that gets bonded is actually continuously locked away forever, similar to ETH that is raised at the offering.
Well, okay.
Mhm.
So everything that comes in for that is then staked, and then go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no, not at all. But that's right. So ETH gets bonded into the idle treasury. And, just once again, it's an immutable treasury, which is paying perpetual rewards to idle NFT owners. So when you actually perform the act of bonding, what you're doing is you're increasing the treasury and you're increasing the value of idle NFTs themselves. So virtue stakers don't actually have a direct relationship they have a relationship, they have an indirect relationship in the sense that they are earning commissions off of secondary sales of idle NFTs. So really kind of when the bonding action happens, the idle treasury is increasing. Now, when the idle treasury increases, then idle NFT owners are earning more rewards in perpetuity. So
Right.
because they are earning more rewards, they should be worth more. They should be worth more money. They should be more Ethereum themselves.
Right.
And by bonding ETH into the treasury, you're increasing the value of idle NFTs. Consequentially, now that idle NFTs are worth more, the 7.5% commission off of sales of those NFTs, that 7.5% commission stream is now worth more, which means that Virtue token stakers are now earning a higher APY.
Right.
So,
Because they've pushed up through their actions, they've actually pushed up the value of each of the NFTs because there's now more ETH staked paying more rewards to the people that hold the NFTs. So you're actually gaining more value because of that. And that would then push up the price that people would be willing to pay for the NFT in the market because of the enhanced and increased value that's happening over time.
yeah, absolutely. And then, so like now that idle NFTs are worth more, Virtue stakers are earning more, are earning a higher APY. There should be more demand for the Virtue token itself.
Sure.
So
Absolutely.
Yep. So when
And
that, oh, sorry, yeah.
no, go ahead.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Then the final thing is just that, so when the demand for the Virtue token increases from all of this, then that should cause more people to bond more ETH into the treasury, which begins the cycle again.
Yeah, absolutely. And the actual NFT, I would suspect that a large number of the idle NFT owners will be staking the STETH rewards they get back in, I mean, bonding those back in to obtain virtue, right? Because it's essentially a compounding effect of continuing to earn and continuing to earn. So hopefully that increased value just continues to push the dynamic upwards for all components of the system.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's beautiful.
Mhm.
It's an awesome model, right? I mean, it kind of takes the degen yield farming experience and actually makes it whole, right? Because it's now a model that every step in the process actually feeds the others and increases the value around the entire ecosystem.
Yeah, that's right. And like everything about the idols, it's like we really want to reward the people who are contributing to the system. So, like, and by buying either an idle NFT or, staking Virtue, you are increasing the system. And then all of that, that value flows towards staked Ethereum. So all of that activity is generating more staked Ethereum, which is securing the network better. And then at the same time, the rewards from that are distributed 100% amongst our community.
That's fantastic. And you know what? It at first blush could sound a little bit complex, but I don't think it's very difficult because of this three-pronged approach for people to understand. It's like, look, hold the NFT, you're going to earn stake D. Then anybody that holds the Virtue token is going to be earning 7.5%. And oh, by the way, you can bond your STE to earn Virtue tokens to further increase your overall revenue and value from the project.
That's right. Yep,
That's
exactly.
beautiful.
Mhm.
Absolutely beautiful. I love that. Do you have people in your life that you've tried to explain this project to that are not necessarily DeFi or NFT people? And do they just think you're nuts?
It's like I wouldn't say that they think that I'm nuts, but I think like this project requires at least like some understanding of like, for example, like what is stake?
Yeah,
Like it requires like understanding just like where do staking rewards come from.
right.
But I think most people like once they kind of get those basic pieces down, the rest of it makes sense to them.
All right, cool. Let's talk a little bit about your team. So I'm looking at the team page right now. We've got you, and then we've got Heavenly Waffle. Can you tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about their background uh, and how they got into this with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, Heavenly Waffle he's actually my roommate from college. Two of us have known each other for a very long time now. He's, the smartest coders I know. He's like worked at all the top tech firms in Web 2.0, and then he's just a really solid coder. And I kind of came up to him with this idea. I was like, like, I have this idea for an NFT project. I think that we can do things a lot different. And then I really wanted to just ask him if he could come along and he wanted to join. And, he was interested.
That's great. Was he into crypto at that point, or were you like convincing him about crypto first and then into the project?
Yeah, I was definitely convincing him about crypto. I think it's interesting because it's like I've always been just the most outspoken crypto person within my group. And then a lot of the current team members are actually, friends. Like a lot of us are friends in real life as well.
Nice.
And then, Laser Bear, who is our artist, he's been working in the industry for over 15 years. Like he's very, very detailed, really, really good at what he does. He's worked on a lot of games and books and things like that. This is his first NFT project, but it was like, it kind of, what really drew him to us was just this community alignment.
I advise an NFT project called Doki Doki that, has had a lot of first time artists who are doing their first NFT projects. And, walking them through conceptually it can be a very difficult thing at first if they're not having dabbled at all in that. Was it difficult for him to kind of get it and be on board with it? Or did you find that once you kind of explained how this all works, he was enthusiastic?
Yeah, I would say that for some people who are just like less say experienced in crypto, some of the more technical details are harder to get at first. But like, I think the one thing that is easy to understand is that 100% of the revenues and all the earnings in the project are being distributed amongst 100% of the community.
Right.
So, and I think kind of just in that way, like, and like also just the fact that like our NFTs, like, they provide utility, like they provide you by owning an NFT are staking and helping the Ethereum network, and you're getting paid to do that.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I can definitely see how that's an easier persuasion task. Let's talk about the art he created because for me, look, I mean, all art is obviously a matter of preference, but for me, these are absolutely beautiful. And I'm really blown away not only by kind of the color choices and themes, but I feel like the characters just really feel approachable and something I would want as a profile picture. Like if you had none of the other components of this project and you guys were just releasing this as PFPs, I would want these, right?
Yeah, no,
So,
thank
I'm wondering what was that process of creation like? Like, was this something where you kind of gave him an idea? I mean, was the theme that you guys have for the idols already kind of established, or what was that process like of creating?
Yeah, yeah. So like, I think the term idols is like a little bit of a play on words in a lot of ways. Because like an idol is like, you just look it up in the dictionary. It's something that you worship or something that people worship.
Right,
So like, it's a little bit tongue in cheek and kind of like the idols is, these all the characters or all of the NFTs they are idols themselves.
right.
As they're doing good things, they are protecting the Ethereum. But it's also a little bit play on words on like kind of just the NFT ecosystem because it's like a lot of people worship NFTs.
Sure.
So that was kind of the genesis of it.
And did you have that conceptual idea of idols at the beginning and you kind of said, "Hey, this is what we're thinking," or was that something that evolved as well?
Yes, I would say actually like the app, when we kind of was the very first say like original like say version of the app, we were thinking of something along the lines of like actually like DeFi gods. And then the people who are staking the virtue token are really like kind of in a sense it's kind of like staking is like praying to the idols. Uh,
Got
that was kind of the part of the genesis in terms of just this, the entire project.
nice, nice. And you're working with him, was it something where there was an immediate, consensus on style and design style and colors and that kind of thing, or was it something that really evolved?
It went through a couple of iterations. Like I think for us, it's like we wanted all the idols to look good. That was like one of the key things that we were trying to solve for. So like I think in NFT, like other NFT projects, you'll see like kind of there's there's a lot of traits that like don't necessarily work well went together, as in certain ways that the random generation can work would make certain traits look awkward with each other. We really tried our best to have every single trait be aesthetic with every other trait.
How many traits are there?
Yeah, and there's over 100 hand-drawn assets from our artists, and then, obviously they've been digitized and turned into different layers, and that's how the random generation works. But yeah, ultimately, it comes from over 100 hand-drawn assets.
That's incredible. So, that is a big job. How long have you guys been working on the project overall?
The project itself, it's been in the, idea and formation stage for a very long time. I would say probably close to 7 or 8 months. We kind of really, really started diving in, and then, a lot of us have actually left our full-time jobs to work full-time on that. And that process has been probably around 4 months.
Wow. Wow, that's fantastic. Let's talk a little bit in terms of the team. Let's talk about like how is the team going to be rewarded for the success of the project?
Yeah, yeah. So, so as we mentioned before, 100% of the mint proceeds, so the ETH raised, is actually going back into the team is reserving 10% of the total idols for the team and other early advisors. And, this is really just like, it's like we chose to take our 100% of our compensation in the exact same tokens that our community has. In this way, it's just that we're fully aligned.
Of course.
And
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. And then I just wanted to mention one more thing in terms of our virtue token. So, the team is reserving 15 million or 15% of the total virtue token, the total virtue, it's just all virtue tokens. And one thing we wanted to do is that we didn't want to do a simple linear time-based schedule for our vesting. Most projects you'll see kind of like 6 months, 12 months, 24 months with some kind of cliff. We actually wanted to, further align the community in terms of tying our own allocation or our own vesting schedule towards the success of the project. And the success of the idols, one of the key ways to define the success of it is really through how much Lido STETH is bonded into our immutable treasury.
Aha.
Yeah. So, our 15 million allocation actually vests along the bonding curve itself,
Oh,
which
very nice.
yeah, exactly. Every single time a user bonds a little bit more STETH into the treasury, then the team's 15% allocation accrues a little bit more.
That's fantastic. That's a complete embrace of what this incentive alignments that makes DeFi work, right? Because now your entire motivation is tied to high quality art, spreading the word, getting people engaged. And the mission behind the project is one of the missions behind the project is that you are securing and helping the overall Ethereum network. So across the board, you've got this mission-based project, you've got everyone involved in the virtuous circle engaged and earning from it when it's successful. So everyone that has an NFT, everyone that has virtue tokens is actually incentivized to promote and talk about and spread the word about it. And then you all as a team don't have automatic money coming to you. You actually have an incentive for every piece of it to work and for it to spread further with other people.
Yeah, and that's 100% what we set out to do. Like I think in a lot of the ways, the Idols is a passion project. All of us are huge. All of us on the team are huge Web3 believers. We believe in the future kind of community ownership economy where everybody can have a piece of the means of production. And I think this project is kind of like some of the new mechanics that we're introducing in the project. We hope that it can kind of serve as an example for not just other NFT projects, but just DeFi projects, any project in general.
That's awesome. That's really good. So you're going to launch sometime in this quarter. And then I see in the second quarter a secret NFT project number one. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can. I can. So like, our whole kind of like next year's roadmap is really focused around adding more value into the virtuous circle or into the virtuous cycle. So, our first project, similarly to how the idols locked away staked Ethereum forever in an immutable treasury, we're actually going to be doing that for the virtue token itself.
Wow.
Um, yeah. So like it's just further ways for our community to contribute and further ways for our community to get more deeper involved within the idols. And then secondly, after that, we have a new sort of gamified NFT project coming, which is ultimately going to work towards burning the virtue token.
Wow.
So all of these are going to continue to drive all the projects. Everything that we're going to do going forward is to drive further demand for the virtue token. And further demand for the virtue token equals more STETH being bonded into the treasury. So ultimately, everything ties back to growing the idle treasury.
That's fantastic. And I see that you have two of those. So the first one is the locking the tokens. The second expansion in quarter three is burning virtue tokens. So you're essentially making virtue tokens deflationary at that point. Is that correct?
Yeah, hopefully the goal one day is for the token itself to be deflationary, and then also just continuing to provide utility to the virtuous cycle.
That's incredible. And then I see some other additional staking functionality in quarter three. And then finally in quarter four and beyond that, you're really hoping to transition to a full DAO, right? So that at that point, anything else that kind of gets added to the project, it's going to be a community-based decision.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So even at launch, all like the contracts of the idols are fully permissionless and just fully decentralized. But we really want to kind of remove ourselves, the founding team, from the picture entirely at one point. And then just like as the project evolves, as the community grows, we want to hand the keys over to the DAO directly.
That's great. This is really the thought that's gone into this, the brand development that's gone into this is just truly impressive, man. I'm very excited for this project and
Yeah.
I'll be watching very closely so that I can take part in it. It's fantastic. Really good. Um what is there anything else we should know about the project? Are you guys thinking about doing other similar NFT projects down the line after you've kind of gotten to the point of success with this one
Yeah.
or
Actually,
other
yeah.
things?
One thing I did want to talk to you a little bit about is our gold list, actually. Yeah. So, like the gold list is really our take on there came a point in the time, like, where the idols, we were deciding whether or not we wanted to participate in the current, let's say, like whitelist culture. The thing that we see with whitelists today is that, like, we see oftentimes the way that whitelists are designed, because they offer you reserved NFT minting spots, as well as typically whitelists will come with the opportunity to mint the NFT at lower than the public minting price. We saw that this kind of effect was not necessarily aligning everybody within the system.
Right.
Because yeah, oftentimes you get people who are, they're not necessarily long-term supporters of the project, but they just get on the whitelist so that they can mint the NFT at a discount and flip and use the rest of the community as exit liquidity afterwards.
Right.
Like Bloomberg has written an article about this. It's a very prevalent thing right now. And then we wanted to challenge people to do the whitelist a little bit. So the good thing about whitelists is that they reward early contributors to the project. We wanted to still do that, but do it in a way that's non-dilutive for the rest of the community. So the way that the Idols Gold list works actually is that if you're on the gold list, you're actually going to receive a proportional share of 1 million tokens that have been provided by the actual founding team.
Oh, wow. So it's coming out of your allocation.
Exactly. So the 15 million, the 15 million tokens that the founding team has reserved, 1 million of those 15 millions will be distributed to our gold list members. And the gold list virtue tokens will actually be vesting along the same schedule. So in many ways, like being on the gold list is equivalent to having founder level exposure in the idols because you are actually vesting at the same rate that we are vesting.
That's fantastic, right? So now you have an interest in the longer term success of the project as opposed to flip and dump.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
How will the gold list be chosen?
Yeah. So, we have some contests going on in our Discord and Twitter. So obviously be sure to follow us, join our, but ultimately, it's like the team is really looking for members who are committed to the project. So being active within Discord, like helping others learn about the virtuous cycle, helping educating others about the project. All of these are things that the team is looking out for in terms of choosing who gets on the gold list. And yeah, so, as of right now, like the gold list is being managed mostly directly by the founding team.
Cool. So you're basically it's based on really, it's a meritocracy. It's earning the privilege of being on that list and the extra value that goes along with it because you're willing to put in the work and the potential risk, anything's a risk, of putting in your time and effort and energy in spreading the word about the project.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So like, similar to how other people on whitelist will help projects, will help projects market initially. Gold listers are doing the same thing, but the main difference is that they're being compensated with founder like allocation as opposed to a discounted mint.
That's great. And it just makes complete sense across the board. This is probably one of the most well thought out projects prior to launch that I've seen. I'm really impressed with it.
Thank you so much.
Is there anything else that we should know about the project, or have we pretty much covered kind of all the core components?
Yeah, no, I think we've done pretty good. Like we've covered a lot of stuff, just like please follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter is just twitter.com/theidolsnft.
Great. Theidols.io is the website.
Yep.
And you can get all the links there as well. And all the links are in the Twitter. Very cool. All right. So thank you for coming on. Now I ask everybody the same question at the end of the interviews, and that is there a project or a person or team for whom in the DeFi and NFT ecosystem for whom you have a great deal of respect or that you think is just really critical to the future or is doing innovative things in the space?
Yes. No, I definitely do. I think I would say one of the biggest projects, one of the first DeFi projects that I really got involved in. And I really think that kind of the team behind there, like not only are they like PhD level math geniuses, yeah, in addition to that, they really are smart in terms of how they design their tokenomics. And I think they are one of the really great first examples of just aligning the community and also like rewarding the most devoted of their community.
It's absolutely amazing how that thing has evolved and what's happening right now with Curve. It's just incredible to watch.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. It's like it's what I've thought for a long time, and I'm glad that the rest of the market is noticing them now.
That's great. And look, it's just such an organic thing that I think the other reason to me that it's so powerful beyond the fact that the people behind it are so smart and did such a brilliant job with it is that it works within kind of how humans are motivated, right? And and that it's so possible for people to build around and on top of it and leverage the mechanics of it. So I'm very excited for what's coming next for that. But I completely agree. That's powerful. And obviously right now, today, probably I would put that at least in the top 3 of the most important projects to DeFi at the moment right now.
100%. I'm in full agreement with that.
That's great. That's great. Neptune, thank you so much for coming on. I am so going to be engaged with you guys. I would probably buy an NFT just for the art, but the fact that you are incentivizing this so strongly and making it so that people really want it to succeed based on their investment or their appreciation for the art makes it even more so.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And, we would love to see you at the offering. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks a lot.